Welcome to 3DOptix tutorials. Today we are going to review the user settings in the main menu of 3DOptix. On the top right of the web page here where we see our email address is our user settings. If we click on our email address, the user settings dialog comes up, and if we select that, it'll bring us to the user settings. From here we come to the menu where we find our personal information, project preferences, and license and billing information. Personal info is self-explanatory, so that's all of our personal information and company university name. The next section, Design and Simulation Tool, has two tabs associated with it, Global and Setup Related. Both have the exact same settings, as you will see here. We're in Global, and now we're in Setup Related. They have the exact same settings. Okay, let's go back to Global. Now, the difference between the two settings is global will initialize these parameters every time you create a new project design, while setup related has to be changed in a current project design for this to take effect. And this will be your new design parameters every time you open up that project. Okay, let's go back to global. All right, at the top row, we see that there are three settings, and these three settings limit ray propagation both visually and analytically. The first two, length of laser rays and visualization intensity threshold, will limit the rays that are visually propagated in your system. Note that these do not affect the analysis of rays, only the drawing of rays. This helps speed up the 3D visual layout as it limits rays that may be propagating out of the optical system and therefore lost anyway, or from drawing every ray with a minuscule amount of intensity if you have a lot of scattering. Now the length or distance traveled here before visual termination is measured from the last surface the rays interacted with, and this can be in millimeters or inches. We'll keep this as millimeters. Next, the intensity threshold will stop your analysis from using rays under a certain threshold. And this is going to help speed up your analysis features by limiting the rays to only those above the minimum threshold given here. And on the next row, max display rays limits the number of visual rays that can be displayed in the optical design. Again, helping speed up the visual layout if we have a lot of rays propagating. And here, the intensity colors count generates a new color for each new light source. This will iterate in a loop, so if you have 4 sources and the parameter is set to 2, for example, or 3, then you will only have 3 colors for all of your sources, even if you have 10 or 100 sources. We have a couple options here. We can choose 3, 10, continuous, or user-defined, which will give us some additional options. Let's go back to continuous. And finally, the last option, max of light source emitted rays. This will let you set the maximum number of rays per source in your system. Okay, so let's move on to general settings. In this tab, you can see the only option is to select your wavelength units. You can choose either nanometer or micron depending on your wavelength range you're working with. Okay, in the view settings, this will set the background of our optical system. Brightness level has 3 settings, and that's the brightness level of the background, not the breadboard or the grid that you have for your 3D design space. And the scene background color. Gray is always good because there's a good contrast between white and black. Okay, let's move on to license. And here we can see the statistics for our account. Our current license type is standard, and this can either be basic, standard, advanced, or academic research. Current year utilized CAD size, and CAD size limits tells us the total file upload storage we have used and how much we have remaining. Moving over here to the GPU side of things, we see we have the same type of statistics as the CAD files with utilized GPU time and GPU time limits. So this is used up when we hit the propagation simulation button or the run analysis button. Now this will dynamically update, so as we import CAD files or we utilize the analysis features of 3DOptix, these resources will get used up in real time. Okay, let's go to the last tab, billing. So the billing tab, we have a few options. We can see our orders, our current subscription with our current license, how much it costs, and what our billing info is. Now, if we come down here and click on standard, this will bring up an option bar where we can look at the pricing for the other licenses that are available. So here we have basic, standard, advanced, and academic research. And if we scroll down, we can look at our GPU usage for the four types of licenses. And if we go down a little farther, we can also see the CAD storage limits for the four different types of licenses. Okay, so this should help you find and change pertinent information for your user profile, global and local settings for your 3D Optics projects, and account limits and types.